Hey guys, this is week 3 of my 52-week series titled 52 Weeks of Reaper. So let's jump right into it. So for this week, we're going to be discussing some modulation options. So we're going to piggyback off of some of what we've discussed from week 1 and week 2 and kind of build on top of the whole audio routing thing to make some of that even more relevant with now modulating with side-chained audio signal. And also we're going to look at another option to do some modulation in Reaper. So let's jump right into it. So first up here, I had mentioned before that we have this kick over here. It's being sent to track 7, which is the 808 track. So that's these two tracks here. We got the kick, and then we have the 808. And then that's the whole track playing. So if you notice right here on the 808, when I'm playing the music, you're seeing 2 sets of audio, as opposed to everything else where you're just seeing 1 set of audio, either stereo or mono, signified by the stereo being unified. But down here, we're seeing 2 stereo signals. So the second stereo signal that you're seeing right there, this one right here, that is the actual kick signal. And you can see by the motion and the sound that it matches, the VU meter is matching the movement of the kick versus your 808 bass. So now let's put some practical application to this routing scenario. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the mixer, and on this 808 channel, I'm gonna add an EQ. So I'm gonna search for this one. Let's do this one. So I should have a default in here. I think this is it. All right, this works. So we're looking at this 808 signal here. And what I'm gonna do, just gonna roll off a little at the end here. And that's about it. So also on the kick, let's check out something here. So on the kick, I have boosted right about here. Let's see what that is. So about 110 with a bell curve, I've boosted that frequency on the kick. So I want to complement that by cutting that frequency range on the 808. So we're gonna go to frequency 110, right there. Then I'm gonna move the gain. I'm gonna adjust my Q a little bit, and then move the gain again and reset it. So the gain is the last parameter that I touched. So up here now, on every plugin that you load in Reaper, it's gonna have the wrapper, which has these options here, including the parameter option. You have an edit option, you have the pins in and out option, which we've looked at, and we have a mix knob. So when I go to param, short for parameter, I'm gonna see right here where it's faded, it says last touched, and it'll say filter to gain, which that was the filter to gain knob, which is the one that I wanna modulate. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can just go to link, parameter modulation MIDI link, but I'm not gonna do that because I always like to see it in the mixer. So I'm gonna select show in track controls. So now it's showing here in track controls, Then I'm gonna right click on it and hit modulate. And just to be clear, I could have just went straight to here, and because it says last touched, I could have just went parameter modulation, and that would open that same window that I just closed. Also, if it's not the last touch parameter, you can actually come down here in this section where it says we have this hard line. We're no longer looking at the last touched options. We're just looking at something that we want to link on that plugin, whatever plugin you're looking at. But of course, you're going to have to sift through this entire list of parameters under parameter modulation for the plugin that you're now looking at to find the parameter that you want to start setting up the modulation on. And depending on your plugin, it could be a lot because it's going to have every parameter for that plugin listed here for you to select as the recipient for the modulation. So that's why I tend to do it that way, where I'll move the knob and then use the option under last touched. Everything before this line right here is going to pertain to the last touched, and it will be listed up here what that parameter was that was last touched. So a little FYI, but I always do it this way. Then I'll right click on this, go to modulate, get this window. So in this window, I'm going to select, for this example, I'm going to select audio control signal sidechain. So what that means is it's going to be triggering based on the audio signal that I tell it to use on this channel. So for this channel, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but I want it to be triggered by the kick, which is being sent to 3 and 4 on this 808 channel. So I'm going to select that, and once I start playing, you're going to see the signal. So we see some indication here, and a rule of thumb is you want this to peak close to this red dot. So we need to set it to negative first of all, and let me pull up the plugin so you can see what's happening. So now we have the gain on this cue, this band here, being ducked, which is what I want. I want to duck that range whenever the kick hits to kind of open up a little bit of space for the kick so that we have more compatibility and so that the 808 and the kick complements each other and they're not fighting for frequency and amplitude. So I'm going to bring the attack all the way down. Then I'm going to bring the release. I want a pretty quick release. So let's say that's fine for now for this example. And then now you can start to adjust. So if you notice now, the signal is going way past this red dot. So there's several ways I can adjust that. So the minimum volume will help bring that back a little bit. I can leave the maximum volume where it is. And then you can also just bring down the strength. So it's gonna basically reduce based on your setting, just the overall intensity of how the signal is driving that parameter. So I could bring this down, all the way down, all the way down. And if you notice, we're just getting a little bit of attenuation on this band. So I can bring it in, and now I'm getting more. So whenever the kick is, edited out, then it won't respond. It is only gonna react to the signal of the kick. And down here we have direction, centered, we have positive. But in this case, we want a negative motion. So that's that example. And once again, you can use this method in Reaper. This is all native to Reaper. So you can use this to drive and modulate any parameter on any plugin, whether it be a native plugin or a third-party plugin. So this is one of the powerful features I feel that Reaper has. So next up, we're going to do something similar, but we're gonna use a slightly different method. So let's go. So here we have the piano. All right, and I like the way everything sounds, but now I'm gonna play with basically creating a kind of like a phaser filter type thing. And yes, I know there's other ways to do this with an actual phaser, but I'm just showing you this as an example of how you can drive a parameter and set up modulation within Reaper with just its native natural functionality. So this could be applied to any parameter, like if you wanted something like sweeping panning and things of that nature, volume control and all that. So let's add that same EQ again to this creepy piano channel. And what I'm going for, let's see. So I want more of this. Let's see what it sounds like at a tighter band. So I want something like that. So what I'm gonna do is leave it as is. I'm gonna move the frequency knob. So that's the last touch. I'm gonna go here and it says filter 1 frequency is the last touched. I'm gonna go back once again. Let's just go parameter modulation. So it brings it up like last time. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, instead of selecting audio control signal, I'm gonna hit LFO. So now we have an LFO sine shape that's driving the modulation. And now we have all these settings to basically control how it moves and where I want it to move. So here we go. So sine wave is what I want. They have different shapes here: square, saw left, saw right, triangle, and random. Saw wave is good. I'm gonna set it to tempo, so check right there. So it locks the tempo, and it's telling me that right there where it says QN right here, it means that it's a quarter note for every 1. So if I put 1, it's gonna be quarter note. If I put 2, it'll be 2 quarter notes, which will be a half, and so on and so forth. Odd numbers will end up being triplets, things of that nature. This is why I don't like when Reaper does this number system, because you got to do math. But we'll figure it out. So I think this movement, this speed is what I want. And to get it to be in the range that I want, because I don't want to go all the way in the low end, because there's nothing here, and it's going to be boosting down here and causing problems. I want it to move within the range of the frequency activity right here, the main frequency activity. So what I'm gonna do is you're gonna hit this right here, double click it, so that it's gonna center the position, the start position. And then all I have to do is bring the strength down. So now we're more in the range. But now I want it to go higher up in the frequencies, so I can actually grab this same parameter for the baseline value and then slide it like this to that way, over more to the right. So now it's sweeping more in the range where I want it to sweep. And that's pretty much it. I can mess with the strength a little bit, but it's pretty much doing what I want it to do. So those are two quick ways to set up some modulation within Reaper, and this is all just native built-in, and whatever parameter is on a plugin, you can utilize this to generate some modulation. So there are a lot of use cases for this. You know, I just want to highlight what this program called Reaper can do. So that was it for this week, guys. Definitely check back next week as we continue this 52-week series. Week 4 and 5, I'm going to be deeping into some fundamental stuff, but it's setting up the next set of stuff, because I can't talk about that stuff. There's a lot of things I'm going to talk about, but it ties back to what I'm going to be talking about in week 4 and week 5, and I got to set that up first. So stay tuned, check back next week for that. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you'll see me in the next video.